Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the podcast. And today we are going to be speaking about sacred sexuality. So, what is sacred sexuality? I am going to be speaking on my embodied experience, my embodied wisdom of what I believe that it is. And the reason I've created this episode, the reason I am speaking on this topic is obviously I'm so passionate about it. It is my work that I have stepped into, and it has helped me evolve massively, like internally and externally. It has had this massive transformational impact on me. And my new embodied experience is nothing like what we have been taught about sex at all. So I'm just gonna let myself like flow with whatever is coming out. So let's go straight into it. So what do we think sex is? Okay, so from our experiences of childhood, society, from our parents' beliefs, from what we have been taught, educated in school, um, it's a completely different view and a different experience on it. So the society's belief is like that sex is shameful, that it is wrong to have sex. You should only have sex in a marriage. And especially like when it comes to like a female having sex or like someone who identifies as a female, there is just this bit more, not this bit more, there's a more of a taboo to it. We would be getting called, like, men can go out and engage in sex. They can have multiple sexual partners, and they would be like, they get high fives over it, they get congratulations. When they are fully embodying their sexual energy, they're constantly talking about, like, they'd be talking about sex and all, like. And when that comes to a female, if a female goes out and she engages in with multiple sexual partners, if she makes her sexual desires known, if she speaks about sex, it's really like, oh my God, she's dirty, she's a slut, she's a whore. We have all these like names to shame women in regards to sex. And so it's like these polarities exist between what a man is okay to have sex, to speak about sex, to engage more freely with sex, but then when it comes to a female, that's like shunned. And like, when we look at society as a bigger picture, it's like, don't speak about sex. Sex is dirty. It's something that needs to be kept quiet. You keep your desires about sex like internally, not something you want to be speaking about. We don't want to know that. It's shameful. It's wrong to do that, to speak upon it. But my experience is like, I suppose what I'm trying to say is I want to normalize this conversation because there is nothing wrong with sex, there's nothing wrong with self-pleasure. So I'm just going to go back to how I came to this work. I think I've spoke about it briefly, maybe I haven't. So I was in Bali in between October and November 2022. And I got my Kundalini awakened. And even that alone, when I'm looking at it, I can see how that was a part of awakening my like sexual energy and get me onto this path. But anyways, in one of the sessions I got this like really strong message that there's no shame in sex or self-pleasure. So I knew when I came home from Bali, I was like, no, something's definitely like arising within me. And the Kundalini energy lies dormant. It's an energy that lies dormant in all of us. And when it's activated, for some people it doesn't get activated through their life, but when it's activated anyways, it's like the serpent energy, and she rises up through all of your chakras, which are your energy points. And she basically can activate, my experience is that she can activate trauma, but it's for your highest and greatest good. It's so to clear you of everything that no longer serves you, so that you can fully step onto your path, living that more embodied energy, that embodied life. But the Kundalini also represents the sexual energy. So when I came home from Bali, I knew like my inner being, my knowing, my soul, I knew that somehow like sex is going to become a part of my work. And I didn't know how that would, because I was like had no experience at all. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But I trusted, I knew that in 2023 it was going to come into my work. I just actually didn't expect it to come in so soon in 2023. But in January 2023, I was receiving a Reiki session by one of my friends. And she had asked me how Bali was, and I was telling her, and just exactly what I spoke to you about, I had mentioned to her. And I was driving home from receiving the Reiki session, and what happened was I got like this message, this intuitive message from my guides. Go on to Amy Temple of the Feminine's website. So Amy, I had previously on the an earlier episode that I would recommend people to check out. Amy is my mentor, and she teaches everything about like sex and pleasure. And I had began following her a couple of months previous, and I went to one of her workshops online, and it was just like she just had us engaging in our energetic sexual energy. Like it wasn't actually like a touch session or anything. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like this is amazing. I've never experienced sex like this. Even the way she held space, I was like, this is like just the way her whole like aura and how she held the space and what was included in the workshop. I was like, oh my God, this is fascinating. I've never experienced anything like this. So anyways, going back to January when I was driving home and I got that, I got home anyways, and I was going on to, the message was like, go on to Amy's page, Amy's website, and for a practitioner training. So when I got home, I went onto Instagram and I seen Amy, like the first actual post that came up was Amy saying that she was doing a practitioner training. So immediately, anyways, long story short, signed up. That training began in March/April. So I didn't expect it to happen so soon, but that was a part of obviously my life. Like it was just a part of me experiences. It was the way my life was supposed to go. And then I started to realize as I was in the training and I was speaking on it, I kept saying like there's no shame in sex or self-pleasure. And I realized that, oh, that's the message that I got off like spirit when I was in Kundalini getting activated. And this is something that I seem to be talking on. So then I started to realize, okay, this is my message. This is what I have to keep sharing. There's no shame in sex or self-pleasure. So going a bit deeper with what I'm trying to get to, and um give another perspective on sex. So I'm just gonna have some tea first. So my experience is these are just lots of things that I have experienced. So when we think of sex, we think, oh my God, it's shameful. There's nothing spiritual about sex. Sex and spirituality are separate, but that is not true. And this is from actually feeling it. From me engaging in self-pleasure practices, I have literally like found the divine that exists within me. So obviously I would have had this belief, yeah, like the divine isn't outside, it's inside, but I never actually like felt it. It was just like, yeah, no, I know that. But I didn't have that embodied experience. So for me, engaging in self-pleasure, and like really like intentionally working with my sexual energy, I started to feel okay, like actually, like, this divinity, this divine love, this God, goddess, source, universe actually does exist in me. There's been times that I have transcended in my self-pleasure practices, and even in just pleasure practices that weren't actually, like, I wasn't actually fully engaging in like self-pleasure. It would have been like more intimacy practices, like self-touch, like just touching all parts of my body. And I transcended, and I'd be feeling like unconditional love, which to me is God, or goddess, or the universe, or source, whatever your name is for it. And then I started to feel like, okay, like I feel like I'm being shown something else. So spirit and sex is not separate. And then I started to realize, okay, like looking back at all my experience in like my over the years when I've been doing my own inner healing and in the work that I was doing, I would have been very much like up in the ethers, up in the head, like connecting to like the spirit world, but forgetting that I had this physical body. And we are in this lifetime, we are spirits having a human experience. So what is more human than our physical vessel, our body? What is more human than sex? Every single human on this earth has been created through sexual energy. So even in regards to if someone gets like say IVF, and they need a sperm donor. Okay, yeah, the egg isn't going to have like an orgasm, but this sperm, like a man can't ejaculate without having an orgasm. So that is sexual energy. Every single human on this earth has been created through sexual energy, and not just every human, like there's like, think of animals, everything has been created through sexual energy. Yet we do not speak about sexual energy. We don't speak about it because it's been shunned. It's been like, that is disgusting, do not talk about it. But my experience is sexual energy is where you find your power. It's where you connect more deeply to God. It's where you your life can actually expand. So just getting back to like, so when I started to realize that, okay, I'm seeing that like the healing that I was doing, the experiences that I was having, it was very much like up in the spirit world. And I kind of did use the spirit world as an escapism when I was going through problems. But then on my learnings when I was in the practitioner training, I started to realize, okay, the importance of my body. I'm very disconnected from my body, very disconnected from my sexuality. It was like I had this my lower from my hips downwards, that the pelvis area, the sexual organs, I was so disconnected from them. I couldn't feel anything from them. And then I realized, okay, and I wasn't in my body. I was not in my body. So I started to obviously embody the practices that we are taught, like not even the sexual practices, the somatic practices, the embodiment practices, to get me fully into my body. I'd start doing daily. I would have been doing like this connection to my yoni. So like I'd be waking up more every morning and placing my hand on my yoni. I still do it, saying good morning, to awaken her, to create this energy to her. I do like a little like 2-minute meditation where I'm bringing the white light, which is spirit, all the way, which is also Shiva, all the way down to meet directly into my yoni. So my sexual energy, my Shakti energy, my divine feminine. And then I started to realize, that's when I really started to realize spirit. And obviously the unconditional love that I was experiencing through self-pleasure. Spirit and sex are not separate. They are combined. Uh, like we can't have one without the other. We can have it, but we're not living life fully without having it. Yeah, we're not living life fully without having it. So when it comes to, I'm going to speak on the energy types, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm just going with the flow. So I'm probably all over the place, but I'm just going with it anyways and allowing whatever needs to come out, come out. So basically we have, yes. So, and also my experiences Just going back to that, I feel like I'm returning back to what I was saying. I think I was getting a bit like thing. Yes. So then I started to realize, yes, spirit and sexuality aren't separate. Like, our bodies are so important in regards to spirituality as well, in regards to us connecting to the divine, connecting to spirit. And I found that when I started to work more deeply with my body, so doing these embodiment practices every day, connecting to my yoni daily, which would only take a couple of minutes, and then like having self-pleasure practices once a week, I started to realize my intuition was growing and expanding. And this is because when you start consciously working with sacred sexuality, it's about being in the body. It's about, and the number one key, you probably already heard me saying this, and I will never stop saying this. The number one key to sacred sexuality, to sex, to self-pleasure is safety within the body. When you feel safe within your body, you can fully drop into your body. You can fully experience all the pleasure that your body has available to it, not just in the genitals, but all over the body. You can fully the pleasure within your body, the pleasure can expand, your sexual pleasure can expand, your orgasms can expand. It's about going slow. So when we think of sex, it's very goal orientated, isn't it? It's very much like you need to orgasm. It's very fast. Like if you look at porn, and it's just like and other things, it's just like just go straight. And now when I'm giving examples, I am talking about male and females having sex, because that's my experience anyways. So I just keep speaking on my experience. So it's very fast, isn't it? It's like just get the P and the V. The P and the V. Go fast. Have an orgasm, and yes, that's it. My sorry. I'm just like, oh God, from my new, like from all that I've learned, I'm like, oh my God, like Jesus, like more people need to know about this, because it's just so much more pleasurable. Like it's just so much more pleasurable. Like so instead of rushing, instead of going fast, instead of going straight for penetration, instead of going really fast, like forcing an orgasm, we learn to slow down in sacred sexuality, because it's all about slowness. It's all about connecting to our senses. It's all about awakening our sexual energy, the divine feminine energy, connecting to our breath, which helps us. Our breath is life force, and our breath helps us clear. Our breath helps us stay present. Our breath also helps us regulate our nervous system, which makes us feel safe within the body. It is all about connecting to all of the senses, your 5 senses: sense of smell, touch, taste, sound, sight. That's the 5 of them, isn't it? You always feel like I'm missing one. So, and it's all about pleasure. It's not goal orientated, it's pleasure orientated. So it's like, how can you expand on your pleasure? How can you receive more? Even in sacred sexuality, it is about that surrender, okay? So allowing yourself to drop into your body, to go slow, to follow the pleasure, and to surrender. And sometimes surrender isn't like you have to surrender to experience an orgasm, but sometimes surrender looks like, okay, I have had enough. My body has had enough. And yeah, I don't want to force an orgasm on myself. I've had enough, and I'm completely happy with that. And I'm going to surrender to this beautiful session that I've had with myself or my partner. And that's enough. and I feel very full up from it. It's not goal orientated. So we're looking at the masculine point of view from sex and the feminine point of view from sex. So, and I'm not talking about male versus female, I'm talking about energy types. The male energy is very goal orientated, it's very fast. So sex has been known to be goal orientated and fast, the masculine way of doing sex. Sacred sexuality, my experience is it's more of a feminine way. It's more slower, it's more pleasure based. It's more about connection. It's about connecting to the heart as well. And it's really about like opening your heart, okay? So what happens is when life has we've all had life experiences that have caused us pain, like in regards to grief, in regards to relationships not working out, abandonment, and so many other like life things happening. And that can cause us to block our hearts off. And when we go into these self-pleasure practices or practices that we want to have with partners to be fully connected to ourselves, to our partners, to the divine, our hearts have to be open. And from all these experiences that we have life, it can cause our hearts to close, and that creates like this energetic shield around our hearts, and nothing can get in and nothing can get out. So it can prevent us from fully feeling and experiencing love within ourselves, and then giving love, fully giving love, and fully being able to receive love from others, sharing our vulnerabilities. So it's very important that we work with the heart space in sacred sexuality, in our self-pleasure, in our sex sessions that we're having with partners, and open our hearts, because this is where like spirit comes in as well. Okay, so the heart, when we look at the 7 chakras, which is, we have the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine. That's all about like stability, security, tribal. We have the sacral chakra, which is the creative center, the sexual center, the pleasure center. We also carry ancestral wounds in regards to sexuality. There we have the solar plexus, which is all about confidence, being strong. We have the heart, which is all about love, self-acceptance. The throat chakra is communication and speaking. The third eye is about our vision, what we can see clearly, and the crown chakra is connecting us to consciousness, to spirit. So we have 7 chakras, and in between the 7 chakras is the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is like a bridge between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, between spirit and Mother Earth, between our inner masculine and our inner feminine. So we have the feminine energy, the Shakti energy, the creative life force, sexual energy. And when we're engaging in sex consciously, we're bringing that. So we want to have our heart open, and we want to bring that sexual energy up to the heart space, and the Shiva energy, which is the consciousness, the spirit energy, the inner masculine or the masculine energy, comes down and meets Shiva in the heart. So it's that inner union as well. So like sacred sexuality, like when we're engaging in it, yes, it is about awakening that divine feminine energy, but it's also about that inner union, that divine masculine and that inner divine feminine meeting. And then obviously when you're engaging in sex with a partner, it's about union. Sacred sexuality is about union, inner union, the union with divine love, aka God or goddess, and union with your partner. It is about experiencing pleasure, like all the pleasure that is available to you. And sacred pause. So I just want to have a sacred pause for a second. I'm going to get to this sacred pause for a sec. What is a sacred pause? Okay, so the sacred pause, a sacred pause when it comes to sex. But I feel like I'm going all over the place, but this is how it's coming out, so I'm just letting it flow. A sacred pause is, okay, so when we think of, like, now I'm specifically talking about women here who have a yoni. So for a lot of you listening to this, you might be feeling a bit shameful in regards to sex, disgusted, guilty. You might be listening to this and might be intrigued, but at the same time, you are like, I can't. There might be a bit of disgust in regards to me. I can't believe she's talking about this. And notice that. And if at any stage this podcast gets too overwhelming for you, take a breath, take a sacred pause, a sacred breath. You can just actually go off and come back to the podcast if that feels right for you. But I just want to get to in regards to me talking about building the relationship with the yoni, that's very important, okay? So especially if you are similar to me, who had that disconnection, who felt that numbness, who wasn't engaging in self pleasure, engaging in my sexual energy, engaging in like with connecting to my yoni. So like doing that, just even cupping your yoni when you get up in the morning and saying good morning, that is creating a relationship. It's so important that we create a relationship with our yonis and our bodies so we can understand our likes, needs, wants, and desires, so we can put boundaries in place, and just so we have this more intimate, deeper relationship with ourselves. So as I was taking that breath and saying about the sacred pause, I was like, oh, I need to talk about this sacred pause. So going back to our lovely lessons in what we were taught about sex, the P in the V. Sometimes a woman's body does not want that. And that's okay. Sometimes a woman's body is not ready for that. So it takes a woman on average 45 minutes to be fully aroused. Some women are longer. If a woman is not fully aroused and you insert something into her vagina, the opening of her vagina, where like a penis, a finger, or an object, and she's not ready, that can cause small T trauma. Okay, and I'm going to explain that more. So basically, like the vagina has where we would enter like something like a penis, a finger, an object. That has fascia tissue around it. The muscle around it. It's fascia tissue. And fascia holds memories. So for a woman, in regards to penetration, if she even wants that, she has to be fully aroused. So her vagina has to actually open. It's like she has to be fully aroused. And when, excuse me, if she is fully aroused, she will just naturally like slowly, if there is a penis or a finger there, it's just it slowly naturally goes in. But we want to have that pause, okay, and ask the body, ask your yoni directly. And how we can do this is either just, if it's fingers, just placing your fingers at the entrance. If it's a penis, just having this pause and asking your yoni, are you ready for penetration? And you have to really like listen, like that internal listen. What is she going to say? Is it a yes? And if it's a yes, allow that to happen. If it's a no, then do not allow something to enter you, to penetrate you. If your yoni, if your body is not ready, because going back, it can cause small T trauma to your yoni due to the fascial tissue. And what happens is that causes your body, your yoni, to feel unsafe. When your body feels unsafe, you cannot be present within your body. Your nervous system isn't regulated, so you're not going to be present within your body. You will find it harder to actually like feel them sensations, what's available to you. You're forcing the body to do something that she does not want, and that is something that we have never been taught. But it's okay to say no to penetration. It's so, and this is where when we say no, and even if it's ourselves, like even if it's us engaging in self-pleasure with our wand or with our hands or whatever, you have to have that sacred pause. And if she says no, if Yuri only says no, then listen to her. And when you listen to her, it's like you're creating this more deeper, more intimate connection to your yoni, to your sexual energy, and you become more empowered. Like it's just, there's so much more more to this, and I want to normalize this conversation. Yes, there are people who are listening to this and maybe feel a bit of shame, and that's perfectly normal. I too myself felt it. But the more we speak about this, the more it becomes normalized, the less shame there is, the less that like sex is seen as a taboo. Because like, as I said, every one of us is created through sex, and there's nothing taboo about sex. It's that creative, life-giving energy, that pleasure, orgasmic energy, and that our bodies have been created for. So I'm just gonna feel into if there's anything else that I would like to say on this topic. Yeah. So, so when we are engaging in like self-pleasure or sex, we want there is a breath, sound, and movement are really important. Okay, so the breath, first of all, connects you to regulate your nervous system, like full belly breathing, right? Regulate your nervous system. Okay, it brings you into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest phase, which we want when it comes to sex and self-pleasure. The breath is also helps us clear emotions, helps us clear energy, because you'll notice, like if you do start to engage in sex and self-pleasure more consciously, a lot can come up. Sex is very healing. Self-pleasure is very healing. If we're not just rushing for like the hands down the pants, the quick clip, flip, the quick click, flick. Nothing wrong with that. At times that is needed. But yeah, so like sex is healing. So the breath is also our life force. It helps us to keep that energy alive. Without the breath, we would die. Movement is very important, because movement, especially, and when I'm talking about movement, I'm talking about the hips. So movement is very important, because in our pelvis, that's where our sexual energy is, and when we move our hips, we are awakening and activating that sexual energy. Plus, again, we're also clearing, because our ancestral trauma when it comes to sex is held within our hips, within our pelvis area. So even through like sacred sexuality, through self-pleasure, through conscious sex, it's we can actually be healing doing ancestral healing as well. That sexual healing from our ancestors that got passed on to us. And then sound. So we want to be making sound, and like sound, like really letting whatever sounds need to come out. And sometimes they're not going to be like that gentle, like that. Ah, ah, ah. Like it's actually like, let your body like sound from the pelvis, like let that sound come up. Sometimes it can be very animalistic noises that are coming out, but what that does is a lot of things. It regulates your nervous system, it activates the vagus nerve. It it not only it clears energy as well, and then also in regards to like to sex, and regards to women, our two centers that have been shut down were our sacral, which is our sex center, and our throat center, our communication center, because they are our power centers. So we really want to be using that sound to activate our power as well. Like, so you find like your power through self-pleasure and through conscious sex. So I really yeah, I just really wanted to share this conversation, and I will do an episode on self-pleasure soon and get to why I love self-pleasure and why I always talk about self-pleasure. I will do an episode on that soon. And I feel like this is the completion of the episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I really want to normalize this conversation. Like, sex isn't dirty, it's not shameful. Sex or self-pleasure isn't dirty or shameful. It's beautiful. And just that is something I wanted to share with you. So I picked a card just before I came on, and I was like, what does this episode feel like for the collective? And I picked from Rebecca Campbell's Rose Oracle, that is the divine feminine anyways. But I picked for anyone who is watching this on video, I don't even know if you can see it, but it's a Sophia card, and Sophia is the divine feminine. She is goddess. She has been wiped from a lot of things, like so not a lot of people Sophia know about Sophia, but Sophia is really emergent, and Sophia is the divine feminine, which is sexual energy. And like the I don't like, I'm not going to go into much about Sophia because I want to actually do um more research on her. So she is the divine feminine. So like God, she is the feminine counterpart to God. She is goddess. And the card is divine plan, wisdom, intelligence within destiny. So as collective, this is a part of the divine plan. And just on that note, just before I go, I'm going to finish up. We had a transit on the 20th of January that is gonna last 20 years. It's the Pluto enter into Aquarius, okay? And Pluto is the planet of sex, death, rebirth, and transformation. Aquarius is the sign of revolution, humanity, and humanity. So basically, these next 20 years, we are going to have a sexual revolution. Humanity's humanity as a whole in regards to sex will go through this death, rebirth, and transformation. So collectively, we are being prepared for this. This is what the collective needs right now, is that sexual revolution, and it is slowly starting to begin. Like, you can see more people are stepping into this work, more people are talking, and more people are being more curious. So we are going to experience this like sexual revolution. Collectively, we are getting ready for this. Collectively, it is slow more as the years go on, it is going to our views on sex will totally transform. So I'm going to leave you with this. I hope you enjoyed it. I really did love sharing this with you. And if you haven't already, I would love you to rate the podcast. Um, and yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you have a fabulous day.